Imagine West Africa at the dawn of the 19th century, a patchwork of powerful kingdoms, ancient traditions, and simmering tensions. In the heart of the Hausa states, a scholar's voice began to rise, a voice that would soon command armies and redraw the map of an entire region. This is the story of Usman dan Fodio and the Fulani Jihad, a revolution of faith, power, and identity that forever changed the course of history. Who was this man who dared to challenge kings? Usman dan Fodio was born in 1754, a member of the Fulani people, a group of pastoralists and scholars scattered across West Africa. He was a devout Muslim, a charismatic preacher, and a brilliant intellectual from the Qadiriya Sufi order. As he traveled and taught, he saw a society he believed was in spiritual decay. The Hausa rulers, though nominally Muslim, were accused of mixing Islamic practices with traditional pagan rituals, a practice known as syncretism. To Usman dan Fodio and his followers, this was unacceptable. He preached a return to a purer, more orthodox form of Islam. He condemned the corruption of the ruling elite, the exorbitant taxes they levied on the common people, and the unjust legal systems that favored the wealthy and powerful. His message of spiritual renewal and social justice resonated deeply, not just with his fellow Fulani, but also with many Hausa peasants who felt oppressed by their own rulers. His followers, known as the Jama'ah or community, grew rapidly. The Hausa kings, however, saw Usman dan Fodio not as a reformer, but as a threat. His growing influence challenged their authority and their way of life. Tensions mounted, particularly with Yunfa, the ruler of the Hausa state of Gobir. In 1804, the conflict reached its breaking point. Fearing for his life and the safety of his community, Usman dan Fodio made a momentous decision. He declared a hijra, an emigration from Gobir, mirroring the Prophet Muhammad's own journey from Mecca to Medina. This act was a clear signal. The time for talk was over. From his new base, he declared a jihad, a holy struggle against the unbelieving Hausa rulers. What followed was not just a series of battles, it was a firestorm. The call to jihad galvanized a diverse coalition. Fulani pastoralists, long feeling marginalized, saw a chance to assert their power. Disenfranchised Hausa commoners saw a path to a more just society. Islamic scholars saw an opportunity to establish a state governed by Sharia law. It was a potent combination of religious fervor, social discontent, and ethnic ambition. The Fulani forces, though often outnumbered, were highly motivated and strategically brilliant. Led by Usman dan Fodio's brother Abdullahi and his son, Muhammad Bello, they swept across the plains of northern Nigeria. One by one, the great Hausa city-states fell. Kebbi, Zaria, Katsina, and the jewel in the crown, Kano, were all conquered. By 1808, the capital of Gobir itself was captured, and its king, Yunfa, was killed in battle. The revolution was swift and decisive. In just a few years, an old order that had stood for centuries was dismantled. In its place, Usman dan Fodio established the Sokoto Caliphate. This was no ordinary kingdom. It was a vast, decentralized empire, a federation of emirates stretching for over 1,000 miles, making it one of the largest states in Africa. Each emirate was governed by an emir, appointed by the caliph, who was expected to rule according to strict Islamic principles. Usman dan Fodio, a scholar at heart, did not revel in the details of state administration. He took the title of Amir al-Mu'minin, or Commander of the Faithful, but delegated much of the day-to-day governance to his brother and his son. He dedicated himself to writing and teaching, laying the intellectual and spiritual foundation for the new caliphate. The Sokoto Caliphate became a major center of learning and trade. Education flourished, literacy in Arabic spread, and a new era of Islamic scholarship dawned in West Africa. The impact of the Fulani Jihad extended far beyond the borders of the Sokoto Caliphate. It inspired a series of similar jihads across West Africa in the 19th century, in places like Masina and Futa Jalon, as other leaders sought to replicate Usman dan Fodio's success in creating Islamic states. The Sokoto model of governance and its emphasis on Islamic law left an indelible mark on the political and cultural landscape of the entire region. However, the legacy of the jihad is complex and often debated. Was it purely a religious reformation, a righteous struggle against corruption and paganism? Or was it an ethnic conquest, a Fulani power grab veiled in the language of religion? The truth, as is often the case in history, likely lies somewhere in between. While the movement was undeniably driven by a sincere desire for religious reform, it also undeniably channeled long-standing ethnic grievances and resulted in the establishment of a new Fulani aristocracy. The divisions and identities forged during this tumultuous period continue to echo in modern Nigeria. The lines drawn between the Hausa and Fulani, between different interpretations of Islam, and between traditional rulers and state authorities can all trace their roots back to this 19th century revolution. The Sokoto Caliphate itself would endure for nearly a century, a powerful and influential Islamic empire. Its end came not from internal collapse, but from external conquest. In 1903, the forces of the British Empire, armed with superior weaponry and imperial ambition, defeated the Caliphate's armies and incorporated its territories into what would become the colony of Nigeria. But even under British rule, the structures of the Caliphate, its emirs and its legal systems, were often preserved and adapted, continuing to shape the lives of millions. So, when we look back at the flames of the Fulani Jihad, we see more than just a historical event. We see the birth of an empire, the reawakening of a faith, and the complex interplay of religion, ethnicity, and power. It was a movement that began with a preacher's words and ended in the creation of a caliphate whose legacy is still being debated and felt to this very day. What are your thoughts on this pivotal moment in history? Was the jihad primarily a religious reform or an ethnic conquest? Let us know what you think in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history.